Hi, everyone. All right, so we are now approaching the 10th week of the semester, and this is an important week, especially if you're failing the class. If you're failing this class because you're not turning your assignments in, this is the final chance for you to withdraw without an academic penalty. So, by the close of business on Monday, if you have not withdrawn from this class, you are stuck with it, and you need to go ahead and try to do as much as you can. Do bear in mind that late penalties play into this. So, you got to factor that into your decision on whether you want to stay in class or not. Now, if you're passing this class or if you got an A in this class, stuff like that, nothing I just said applies to you. So you can go ahead and continue on and finish this class and get the credit for it. So this week we're going to do two things. One is we're going to talk about British imperialism. British imperialism changed the entire globe and changed the borders of many countries. So, what happened was the British decided to start conquering lands for various reasons, and you're going to see why as you take this week's quiz and you start looking through the slideshow. A lot of it had to do with money, a lot of it had to do with spreading Christianity, a lot of it had to do with, basically national pride. And so, once British imperialism reached its peak, which was during the reign of Queen Victoria, England claimed dominion over one quarter of all the land in the world, right? So think about that for a minute. One quarter of all the land in the world. That means they claimed dominion over Canada. They claimed dominion over Australia. They had lands in Africa, such as Nigeria, that they claimed dominion over. They even claimed dominion over a portion of Antarctica. Why you would want to have any part of Antarctica is a mystery to me, but the British even claimed dominion over that. So they claimed land over all seven continents. And so they were very powerful at that time. And the reasons for imperialism were multiple. So, for example, one reason was because of money, right? Business, trade partners, things like that. Another reason was to spread Christianity. Another reason was because of national pride. We are the mighty British, therefore, we will conquer your land and we will do horrible things to you, right? And of course, one thing you're going to learn is that India was a crown jewel of Queen Victoria's land. And so that's something that you will look at as well. So you're going to look at British imperialism and you're going to read Rudyard Kipling's The Man Who Would Be King. And you're going to think about this as you read this. A lot of what the main characters, Daniel and Peachy, do in The Man Who Would Be King are a reflection of the methods that the British used in order to conquer the lands they conquered, especially India. So India, was a bunch of tribes and they were fighting against each other. The British said, "Hey, you two can gang up on this tribe over here." And so they did. And then the British said, "We'll train you, we'll give you weapons, we'll do whatever is necessary to conquer these lands." And the reason Britain wanted India was because it was such a large landmass, but also because a lot of people lived there. And oh, by the way, we could be trade partners. Um, Britain claimed dominion over Hong Kong because China couldn't be conquered, but this little island called Hong Kong could be. And that helped Britain sell opium, believe it or not, which was a horrible thing, but that's what Britain wanted. They wanted the money from the Chinese. So we're going to look at British imperialism and we're going to note that that's going to be a world changer, especially as we go into the 20th century and beyond next week. The other thing I want you to note is that this is the week of the Victorian exam. So you're going to be quizzed on, or, take an exam on everything you've learned from the beginning of the Victorian era and Lord Tennyson all the way up until now with Rudyard Kipling. So this is probably going to be the most work intensive week of the entire semester. A Man Who Would Be King is long reading. It's only 5 quiz questions, but I've chosen those questions very selectively. And then, of course, this Victorian exam is going to look a lot like the Romantic exam, where we have, you know, general knowledge questions, and then, of course, we have direct quotes. And just like with the Romantic exam, the direct quotes will be long enough that there's going to be a keyword or phrase somewhere in there that will give you the answer. So this week we finish up the Victorian era. We look at British imperialism. We read Rudyard Kipling's The Man Who Would Be King, and we take the exam over all of the Victorian period as we prepare for next week, where we enter the 20th century and beyond.